If you spent this past weekend watching all of the fighting game excitement coming out of EVO, then you no doubt saw the big announcements from SNK. Not only did they add new characters to the upcoming Fatal Fury game, City of the Wolves, but they also revealed plans for a new Art of Fighting game and a surprise release of SVC Chaos, Capcom vs. SNK. All of that exciting news got me wondering what Electronic Gaming Monthly thought of these classic fighters. Did they have a favorite SNK game? As it turns out, EGM reviewed a total of 22 Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and King of Fighters games between 1989 and 2009. This includes most of the Neo Geo games as well as several of the watered-down ports released on 16-bit consoles. Unfortunately, they did skip over a few King of Fighters games and didn't even bother with the Neo Geo Pocket Color stuff. But to make up for that, I've decided to toss in SVC Chaos SNK vs. Capcom, just for fun. What we're going to do today is count down the top 22 Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and King of Fighters games using nothing more than Electronic Gaming Monthly's own words and scores. There's no editorializing here, we're just going to focus on what the critics said back when these games first came out. Oh boy, I sure hope you brought a map to Southtown, because we're about to see what happens when EGM ranks Fatal Fury, Art of Fighting, and the King of Fighters.
Mega Shock Neo Geo!
いくつもの伝説が生まれ、そして消えてゆく。狼は眠らない。画廊伝説スペシャル。
SNK.
Kicking things off at number 22, it's Fatal Fury on the Genesis. Fatal Fury on the Genesis just doesn't come across, to me, as a good fighting game. One of the keys to make the game work is to have a good joystick. Forget about using a pad, as the control just isn't there. The new boss moves are cool, though, and the best part of the game. The two-player mode is decent. Number 21, SVC Chaos SNK vs. Capcom on the Xbox. This game might have flown in, say, 1993 against competition like Power Instinct and the original Fatal Fury. But when online Guilty Gear costs all at $20, forget it! Chaos suffers from imbalanced fighters, hit detection issues, and other basic gameplay screw-ups, while other characters look a solid decade behind the curve. SNK should bow its collective head and beg for fan forgiveness. Number 20, Art of Fighting 3 on the Neo Geo. This game is 5 years past its prime. It's a choppy 2D fighter. The special moves and combos are easy to pull off, but they're not implemented well. For example, every character has a monstrously damaging move called Ultra Cool Attack that can be used when your health is down to a fourth. This move does almost 50% damage. It doesn't seem fair if I'm winning and then someone pulls off one of these moves, which can't be blocked by the way, and kills me. Some characters have easier joystick motion for ultras than others, leading to uneven gameplay. Art of Fighting 3 is just not a well-balanced game. There are plenty of better fighters in existence. Number 19, Fatal Fury Wild Ambition on the PlayStation. Fatal Fury hasn't made the transition to 3D particularly well, and as a result, Wild Ambition is one of those games that makes you think the franchise is pretty much on its last legs. The action is slow, the controls are sloppy, and not as responsive as the game's 2D descendants. And to top it all off, the sound effects sound like they were recorded in a tin can. This is not a good fighting game. It's such a shame to see a good series go bad. Number 18, Art of Fighting on the Genesis. One of the key features of the Neo Geo version of this fighting game was the scaling in and out during combat. That effect isn't in this version, but otherwise, this is identical to the arcade. Even the cinemas between the fights are kept in. Most of the moves are easy enough to execute, and there's some nice options like being able to fight 5 rounds instead of the standard 3. In the versus mode, some fighters have an unfair advantage, like karate, but overall, this is an earnest conversion. Number 17, The King of Fighters 2000 and 2001 on PlayStation 2. If you approach this game unprepared, then you'll likely catch a brutal double dose of 2D fighting to the face, and it won't be pretty. Straight up, the 2 games included here aren't visually impressive, but if you can get over this, you're in for some goodness. The King of Fighters games offer excellent gameplay, standing alongside the Street Fighter series in the 2D fighting pantheon. Don't be scared, these installments are just as valid and compelling as games like Capcom vs SNK 2. Number 16, The King of Fighters Dream Match 1999 on the Dreamcast. This series is starting to show its age. Although it still has that nostalgic old school feel, The King of Fighters Dream Match 1999 really should look a lot better, at least a Street Fighter 3 level of graphical quality. But even though the sprites are small and the frames of animation are too few, this game should tide over fans of traditional 2D fighters, at least until Street Fighter Alpha 3 comes out. Dream Match 1999 has tons of characters and that old school gameplay that requires skill, not memorization, to master. Number 15, The King of Fighters Maximum Impact on the PlayStation 2. Maximum Impact is essentially SNK's version of the Street Fighter EX series, which isn't really a good thing. A lot of the precision and strategy in the 2D King of Fighters games is almost completely lost here, since a complete novice can easily pull off a 5 or 6 hit combo within seconds of picking up the controller. Still, that speaks to Impact's accessibility. You won't have to spend hours trying to string 3 moves together. And fights are really fast-paced, much like those in the Dead or Alive games. Number 14, Fatal Fury Special on the Super Nintendo and Sega CD. Hey, who put my TV in a tin can? That's the first thing I thought when I heard Fatal Fury Special. That sound is from the Dolby surround effects. Even if you turn it to mono, it's still bad. Other than that, the graphics are very sharp and the sounds are decent. But some of the moves are hard to get off, mostly charge moves for some weird reason. The game is old and may have lost some of its appeal, but overall, it's not a bad translation. Number 13, Art of Fighting 2 on the Neo Geo. The Neo Geo certainly has its share of fighting games, and Art of Fighting 2 comes off as being pretty impressive. The first one had cruddy control and just wasn't much fun. It's nice to see that these problems were fixed. The new characters are great and everything just looks, sounds, and feels terrific. It would have been great to be able to change characters between rounds. If you need another fighting game, Art of Fighting 2 will keep you happy. Number 12, The King of Fighters Evolution on Dreamcast. SNK is dead. Long live SNK. This, their premier fighting series, was supposed to come out from SNK themselves. But when they went potty, Agetec wisely snapped up this fast-moving, action-packed 2D fighter. If you're turned off by Capcom vs SNK's Capcom bias, then sate yourself on what may be the last SNK fighter you'll see on consoles, besides Last Blade. The King of Fighters 99 adds a striker to the fray, which is nothing new for the fighting genre, but fun anyway. The new fighters are a little too powerful for my taste, and this year's model gave Heavy D the boot. But if you're a fan of the series, then this is a worthy follow-up to Dream Match Never Ends.
Kaku Mega Shock Neo Geo.
いくつもの伝説が生まれ、そして消えてゆく。狼は眠らない。画廊伝説スペシャル。
SNK.
And we're back with number 11, Fatal Fury 2 on the Genesis. All the fighters, all the stages, and extra options not in the arcade like a speed setting make this another fine conversion of a Neo Geo title. The little details are retained, as have the last-ditch finishing moves. However, the sound could be improved, especially the dizzy sound effects and some of the voices. This is the type of game that can truly be appreciated with a 6-button controller. Excellent opening cinema, though. Number 10, Fatal Fury 3, The Road to the Final Victory on Neo Geo. It's back! Fatal Fury will never die. Well, at least SNK can count to 3. Anyway, Fatal Fury 3 dishes up all the fun of the previous games, but, of course, tosses in some new characters to liven it up. But for some reason, the game doesn't have the look and feel of Fatal Fury 2. Sure, it plays well, but the nostalgia isn't there. The new characters, especially Blue Mary, are really cool. I highly recommend checking it out in the arcade. You might like it more than I did. Number 9, Fatal Fury 2 on the Neo Geo. SNK has taken a good game and made its sequel even better. The graphics are exceptional, as are the moves and the audio soundtrack. The enemies are strong, powerful, and difficult to beat. Easily one of the best fighting games on the market. If you have the system, you must have this cart. Number 8, The King of Fighters 95 on Neo Geo. SNK has done it again. I didn't think they could do it, but they improved upon The King of Fighters 94. In The King of Fighters 95, they replaced one of their old fighting teams and added a new one. My favorite new option was the added Team Edit option, in which the player can choose between 3 of the 24 fighters to make their own personal team. The gameplay and animation is top-notch. With these changes and the new backgrounds, SNK has produced perhaps their best fighter yet. Number 7, Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves on the Dreamcast. With the Dreamcast just about dead and buried, it's a wonder Agetec decided to bring Mark of the Wolves to the US, but fighting fans should be happy they did. Regarded by some as SNK's finest fighter, Fatal Fury is as lavishly animated as Street Fighter III, plays as well as any title in its class, and boasts some of the slickest super moves ever. Combined with the razor-sharp control, this is one of the fastest, most responsive fighting games that I've ever played. It's easy to pick up and play, but features enough offensive and defensive options for more dedicated players to sink their teeth into. Beyond that, there isn't much to preoccupy players, as Mark of the Wolves is basically a no-frills affair. Still, if all you're looking for is a straight-up, no-holds-barred hardcore 2D fighter that plays great in both single-player and versus mode, then this should cure what ails you. Don't pass this one up. Number 6, The King of Fighters 99 on the PlayStation. Unlike the Dreamcast version of this game, The King of Fighters 99 feels completely at home on the PlayStation. In fact, it comes off quite impressive, a stark contrast from the good, but could have been so much more Dreamcast release. Even though they're not 3D, the backgrounds in here are nice and change between matches. The control is near perfect, the animation is just about on par with the Dreamcast version, and the special attacks look no worse. To make up for the lack of 3D backgrounds, SNK added some cool exclusive extras to the PlayStation owners. And even though some of them are lame, others are really grand. While The King of Fighters 99 might be technically superior on the Dreamcast, I actually had more fun with this one. Go figure! Number 5, Fatal Fury 2 on the Super Nintendo. When I first heard about this game, I was filled with dread. I didn't think Takara would be able to pull this translation off. I was wrong. Fatal Fury 2 has all the moves and sounds of the Neo Geo version, plus there's a way to play as the bosses. This is one of the best fighting games around for the Super NES, and it shouldn't be missed. Only the music suffers a bit. It's a small price to pay for such an awesome game. Number 4, Fatal Fury Special on the Neo Geo. When it comes to fighting games, Neo Geo definitely knows what game buyers are looking for. Fatal Fury Special is one of the best tournament fighting games out there. It has everything. Awesome graphics, superb gameplay, decent sound, and lots of characters with plenty of moves. The only problem is, if you want to be playing a game with arcade quality, you have to be willing to pay the arcade prices. Number 3, The King of Fighters 94 on the Neo Geo. Eek! Another Neo Geo fighting game. The King of Fighters 94 is definitely the big boy of the group, and 24 characters is nothing to sneeze at. The team player option is very cool, and the game really cruises along at a decent pace. The backgrounds are simply unbeatable. The detail and the music are incredible. The King of Fighters 94 has enough distinguishing features to really make it stand out in a field that is jam-packed with competition. Number 2, Real Bout Fatal Fury on the Neo Geo. This game plays a lot easier than many Neo Geo games, maybe too easy, with forgiving control and very simple combos. The graphics and sound are typical high-end Neo, however, there aren't many new characters. They compensate for the lack of new players by the diversity of the extra moves and strategy associated with the old players. With features like super and comeback moves, ring out, and multi-level playing, this is a fast and furious fighter. And finally, in number 1, Fatal Fury 2 in the arcade. It's a simple fact of life. You make a sequel to a good movie, game, or whatever, and immediately that sequel is judged by the merits of its predecessor. Fatal Fury 2 is one of those sequels that is good enough to stand on its own. The graphics and all-around playability of the game are excellent. The same character versus same character option, while not original, is a good addition. But above all else, this game is fun to play. And let's face it, folks, that's the most important thing. Great job, SNK.
Capcom Mega Shock Neo Geo.
いくつもの伝説が生まれ、そして消えてゆく。狼は眠らない。画廊伝説スペシャル。
SNK.
Hey, thanks for watching me count down these classic reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new episodes of EGM Ranks just about every week. We have a whole playlist where we've counted down Mario, Sonic, Batman, Turok, Star Wars, Final Fantasy, Road Rash, Burnout, The Simpsons, Castlevania, Resident Evil, and so many more. We're up to more than 70 of these episodes, so give that playlist a binge. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite SNK fighting game? Oh man, we didn't even get into Samurai Showdown, The Last Blade, and a few other SNK franchises. But that's okay, because we did cover a lot of ground in this episode. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back later this week with reviews of both Disaster Band and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. While you wait for that, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Till then. Oh, that was a firework. I don't know if you heard that.